Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who's been doing a lot of shoegazing lately. It's Petros Patsilivas.
Hello, Mark. How are you, my friend?
Good. How's the shoegazing been?
It's been good. I got a bit of a crick in my neck. it's a bit sore. It's a bit sore. It's navel gazing, shoe gazing. I've been all gazing all over the place, but mainly down.
I guess that's what you get for putting your lyrics on the ground and then singing. Like that's I never heard of shoegazing before. Like shoot to shoegaze. But then when I read about like My Bloody Valentine, when I read about Jesus and the Mary Chain, like they fall under that like dream pop shoegazing label.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy is this like learning about this Scottish Irish sort of how they led the way with this sort of synth aggressive music that's also very dreamy, and just learning how Kevin Shields jumped on this Lost in Translation soundtrack, and he took out a lot of the like aggressive guitar chords and became much more of like these songs much more have like a they're more dreamy, I would say, and you can definitely feel like in some of the like I went and listened to other songs like Only Shallow, Soon Loomer. They're like they have very aggressive moments, but they also have this very dream-esque quality, and I think Sofia Coppola and crew were able to really weaponize that dreamy aspect to like full effect in Lost in Translation. Like I think it's perfect for the soundtrack.
I think shoegaze music just sounds like an aggressive band playing in the next room.
Yeah.
Like that's not to like diminish it in any way. That is just kind of like, and that's the great thing about it is like you have to sometimes, especially with some of the more full on stuff, is like you really have to listen to the lyrics. And I think like shoegazing just comes from, and it's very much an aesthetic thing of just these kind of slackers who like almost don't like have an air of like they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And like they're just looking down at their shoes like whilst they're playing. And I think that is the perfect soundtrack for a film like Lost in Translation, because it is two people lost in this city, and like one of their first major interactions is like, I'm planning an escape, like pack up your bags, like do you want to come with me? It's these two people that even though they're in this kind of fascinating, wonderful city, they don't want to be there, or more to the philosophical and existential thing, they don't want to be where they are in their life. And I think shoegaze is the perfect encapsulation of that kind of that feeling, that like, because it's got a distance to it but also has this underlying aggression, which I think really kind of punctuates through the music, but still has a beautiful quality to it. Would like this film.
And I love that you went that deep, because I've read a bunch of articles about this soundtrack, breaking it down, and how when they're singing karaoke, all the lyrics match the characters. When they're doing this, the needle drops are perfect, and sort of learning about how they put it together, reading why Sofia Coppola, she spent a lot of time in Japan, made this, learning that Scarlett Johansson was 17 when they did this, and they didn't know if Bill Murray was going to show up. But let's get this out of the way. Petros, he's the host of the Cajun Coppola Connections podcast. Wonderful show. I was on there to talk about The Old Way, and then you were on Con Air, the podcast, and you're gonna have an upcoming podcast about Willem Dafoe. So you want to get that out of the way, because I'm terrible with getting people to plug their stuff early on in the episode. So
I do all these things and kind of very much in the trenches of looking at all things the Coppola family, and I'm fascinated by Sofia, especially at the moment. I don't know what it is I recently covered the Virgin Suicides, and I even covered her daughter's TikTok video that went semi-viral.
Beautiful video.
And was just an excuse to kind of look at Sofia Coppola and her relationship to fame under the microscope a bit, and why she probably rightfully has this attitude that she doesn't want her daughter on like public social media, and like, and it brings up that like moral quandary of like the fact that she's trying to shy her daughter away from fame. Could that have like the adverse effect? Do you know what I mean? Like Sophia was thrust into the spotlight with The Godfather Part 3 and then wanted nothing to do with it. But could the opposite have an effect? Do you know what I mean? Like,
then she knocks out this clip, and you got an hour out of that. You also got an hour out of the leg tattoo of the Nicolas Cage, the guy who had the Nicolas Cage vampire tattoo. I love it, man. Like, I love your episodes. They're all fun. You got a Phantom Menace one that's out right now too, which makes me happy. So
yes, yeah. A very dicey Jar Jar Binks impression, which I was kind of worried would kind of like mark the end of me and the podcast, but I've sustained. Maybe that is low listenership, that not enough people listen to get up in arms. But
oh, dude, you're doing great, man. You got a good audience. Like, I love it. I love watching your show blow up and the interviews you're getting. It's awesome. And I'm so glad you joined this, because you're going to be joining a Deep Blue Sea, the podcast episode, and we're going to be talking about The Life Aquatic, and that's another soundtrack that I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching this back in 2003, Lost in Translation, and I immediately went and bought the soundtrack for this film, because this movie is I don't know what it is. We talked about this with Mandy. We've talked about this, or I've talked to this, like, the films of Terrence Malick, where I guess I really love sort of sensory blasting, dreamy movies that obviously every film involves seeing and hearing, but there are other movies that really put you in a different sensory blasting state. I can't explain it. I don't know the word for it, but Lost in Translation, and this is, I've had a weird evolution with this movie, because I watched it in 2003. I'm 40, and we didn't have many movies like this in 2003. Like, this is the era of old school, out cold. Like, this wasn't sensitive movies. Women weren't, like, women, like, they were either comics in comical in romantic comedies or objects of affection. And so I go and watch this movie, and I just remember feeling just Sofia Coppola's touch to it, and just the sort of, it was just a different relationship than I've ever really seen on screen, and I loved it. And then that movie and Tokyo Drift, they made me so like fascinated with Japan that I got a job in Japan, and I was going to teach English out there. 2 days before I left, though, the company went under, and so I had all my bags packed. I had my visa. I was learning Japanese. I had my apartment. They're like, you can go over there, but like, you won't have a job, but you can like kick it and then fly back. I'm like, no, I have no money. I can't do this. And eventually the same company called me up, and they're like, hey, we got a job in Korea. So I moved to Korea, and I stayed about an hour and a half south of Seoul. But like, I always wanted to get back to Japan and visit it, and I did. I visited, like, I just toured all over Asia whenever I moved to South Korea. But then when I moved to South Korea, it's a completely different country. I realized that, but like, I would go walk on my own. I would go to temples on my own. I had crazy nights of karaoke. I remember when I first moved there, I was under like extreme, I didn't sleep in the entire flight. They just played the Imaginarium of Dr. something or another, and they played the Jane Austen book club, and I just sat there. And I got to Seoul, and like, I'm from Florida. I'm not used to gigantic metropolis cities. Seoul's gigantic. Tokyo's gigantic. Beijing's gigantic. They all stress me out. And I remember just sitting in there, and you're just going for walks and like getting lost, and like, you're surrounded by people, but you definitely feel, I don't know, you feel a sense of sort of loneliness there. And so then my relationship sort of changed with it then. But now when I watch it, I realize how great the soundtrack is, because, I mean, Bill Murray in this movie, he's a 52-year-old millionaire who's cheated on his wife twice on this trip. Scarlett Johansson's a 20-year-old who just graduated from Yale. She's like, and then like they're always making fun of the L's and the R's. They're making fun of like how the Japanese people speak. Like, it's very like, Western gaze into the Eastern world. But I don't know, watching the movie, I never thought about any of that. I was like, I'm watching like this dude with like a 17-year-old, and then like this, but like the whole time I'm just so mesmerized by the sights and the sounds. And this movie's characterized for me in like 3 car rides. When Bill Murray comes into Tokyo, when they're coming back from the club, and when he leaves. And just all in between that, it just feels like such a really well-made film. And I'm talking a lot, but I've had this movie on my brain for 20 years, and I'm finally getting to do it. So thank you for joining me. And I learned about Phoenix on this. I blasted this soundtrack everywhere. And like I just bought the Pretentious vinyl for it. You said I bought it for the cover. Maybe that, whatever. But yeah, this is just a movie I've long had, that's been in my life. It helped me get to overseas. Like I was supposed to go to Japan, but like, and that changed my life. And like, so I've had a weird relationship with this. Not a weird, I've just had a relationship with this movie for 20 years now, as it stands. And so I'm glad you came out here to talk about the soundtrack, because I just learned about like shoegazing music and My Bloody Valentine. And this has been whenever I do a soundtrack episode, I always do way more work than I thought I was. And I'm always happy I did.
You'll now realize as well that pretty much every Sofia Coppola film, probably The Beguiled doesn't, but every kind of contemporary Sofia Coppola film has a Phoenix needle drop.
Yeah.
And if people are unaware, that is partly because they're an amazing French like electro pop band, but the lead singer Thomas Mars is also Sofia Coppola's husband. So I guess it's there's an element of like, hey, I can pay for this out of the budget, but the money still comes back into the household at the end of the day.
That's right.
When kind of like what I found like watching this film again with the express idea of coming to talk about the soundtrack is I found myself like listening a lot more to it and kind of like really focusing on the placement of music and the fact that this film and it, like the way you were explaining your trips, like, do you know what I mean, just kind of walking around and stuff like that, is this film has long stretches of just no music and silence and stuff like that, but then it's there's that sequence when they first go out like on a night out together where he's wearing that inside out camo shirt. You're like bombarded with music. I think like if you kind of look at the kind of listings of the tracks that are there, you kind of get it's just all consuming. It kind of, you go from the Chemical Brothers to Kevin Shields to TV Eyes to Mary Butterworth, Phoenix, like God Save the Queen, Elvis Costello, The Pretenders, Roxy Music, like Happy. It's just like kind of boom, 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 boom. And then the moment he carries her back to the apartment, back to the hotel room, and he's on the phone with his wife, we're back to silence. And it's kind of this thing of, and I guess it kind of encapsulates that thing of a city like Tokyo, or just kind of any big places. You can have those quiet moments during the day, but you can also like have these loud moments like throughout the night. And one of the things I figured out as well, like whilst kind of researching and kind of, I don't know, stepping into my own memory banks of stuff that I may have that is linked or tangentially linked to this film. In 2014, I went to see Phoenix at Brixton Academy in London, and they brought out two like guest performers with them. So the first one they brought out was Nicholas Godin from Air, and they did a version of Playground Love, which many people may know as like kind of one of the big single that was off of the Virgin Suicides, where Thomas Mars sings that song, but under an alias as Gordon Tracks. So like, and then the other person they brought out for a few songs was Sebastian Tellier, and like I just kind of realised, I was like, oh, all three of these artists feature on this soundtrack, and I kind of had this night where like I was like in a room with all of them. Do you know what I mean? I was in a room. Phoenix was there, Sebastian Tellier was there, and yeah, wow. Nicholas Scott from Air was there as well.
Oh man, so they did the score for Virgin Suicides, and it's and that must have been a good night. I was so happy when they hit with like Listomania, like so in the States when that album came out, like that was they were everywhere for that. And when they just teamed up with Ezra Koenig from Vampire Weekend, and I remember hearing that and going, duh, like that, like hearing the two of them together made so much sense.
French counterpart to Vampire Weekend in a weird way. And like what I find interesting about this soundtrack as well is all bar like one song, it's all kind of English language. It's either British or like French, like kind of electro infused like stuff, or like shoegaze stuff. But I think like a lot of that is there's like this clear lineage of, it goes back in a weird way, I think, cause to Japan, because I think like a lot of these artists wouldn't kind of exist without like Richie Sakamoto and the Yellow Magic Orchestra, who were kind of like pioneers in kind of electro pop back in the 70s and stuff like that. And then like even Happy End, the band who they got a song on the soundtrack.
Yeah, they got them. Yeah, they're singing in the karaoke bar, right? When they're
they're outside of, like, when they're outside talking, someone's singing their song, and I think it's in the credits at some point as well, but it features on like the kind of vinyl and CD soundtrack for the film.
So like, she just knew what she was doing.
Yeah, and like that song as well is like, I kind of looked into that band. It's like, oh, they were only kicking around from like 3 years, 1969 to 1972. And then when you listen to it, it's like, oh, that could be like, that is like the forebearers for all of these kind of indie slacker troubadours we get, like Mac DeMarco now, like these kind of like, dun, 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 do you know what I mean? Like, these kind of like slightly offbeat, like kind of, yeah, like fun pop stuff. And there's tracks, I'm sure we'll get to them. Like there's in that square, no, I don't think it's a square, but it's the Sebastian Tellier song. There's a certain like grouping of notes in that, which like to my mind was like, that's why this is on there. It's like and it has a kind of like Japanese like flair to it, and it's really interesting as well that Phoenix are on this, and I don't know whether it would have been an inspiration. It probably wouldn't have been, but their 2013 album Entertainment, if you listen to that, especially the lead song on that, Entertainment, kind of has this has that kind of, I guess, what you would oriental flavor to the music. It's like and it kind of all sounds like it's played on the black keys of a keyboard. And I just love that there's kind of, as much as these are, I don't know, not Japanese artists, that like that they've either in this, there's something that you can feel a flavor of Japan, or you can feel a distinct outsider thing. Like it sounds like the thing that would have been on Charlotte's headphones as she's kind of wandering about Kyoto and stuff like that. That these groups are kind of somewhere either before this or kind of just in the DNA of the music that they are making is kind of inspired by Japanese music and culture in a kind of weird way somewhere down the line.
Well, and that's why I think Pitchfork, Rolling Stone, they all put this as one of the best soundtracks ever. Like it's on that list, like the way they curated this. And you could watch this. This is an album. What I love about it, and everything you just said was wonderful. And one other thing I love about it is this is sort of a put the record on and lay on the floor and listen to it album. There's very few of those songs. Like there's a band called Lucero that I adore. Like I feel like I could put their albums on and just sit on the ground. And also too with the driving. Like I'm big on music and driving. So like 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins, One Headlight by the Wallflowers, Run by Snow Patrol. And so when songs like and sometimes or just like Honey start hitting, it just feels like you're on the open road. And of course they're driving through and they're stuck in traffic, but it captures that sort of open road driving vibe that I think I've adored so much since I saw the video for 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins, where they're just driving around singing that song and capturing that vibe. And it does it so well. And I think, for me, when I saw this when I was 22, I think, actually I first learned about Sofia Coppola from the MTV Movie Awards. They did a Best New Filmmaker award. When Lost in Translation came out, I was like, oh my gosh, because Bill Murray was on a heater. Like he was from Rushmore, and then he was doing really well. I knew about Scarlett Johansson from Eight-Legged Freaks. I love that movie. And so just going in there, I didn't know what to expect, man. And that movie just blew me away. It just, I don't know. And I think a lot of it really has to go back to the music and the way it's used. And I think it's funny that this movie won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, because this is much more in the edit. This is much more in the mood of the songs, of the performances. And I think the music really helps, though. Like, I think this won award. Like, I think it was up for a BAFTA, but this movie is just so. I think it's so rare when music. Like, remember Garden State when it came out? That felt very new to me as well. All the Shins. I'm like, who are the Shins? And like, I think it wasn't as organic. Like, they literally like shoehorned every song in. But I was really digging it in this time where I felt like we were finally getting some sensitive type films, some cool films, because I didn't know Phoenix. I didn't know the Shins. Like, I didn't know any of this. So as a kid from Florida in college, who just watches sort of what's now, these movies felt really cool to me.
Well, what's really interesting about this soundtrack as well is, they never really feel too much like needle drops. Like, they kind of just, you're really like disorientated. Like, is this diegetic or non-diegetic? So does this exist? And they kind of play with that. Like, sometimes they kind of fade it out, and it sounds like it is maybe like playing over something, or do you know what I mean? And the song choices as well. It's like, is this original composition? Because I know there's a couple of like pieces that are kind of made purpose built for this film. I think it's the Shibuya and
the ones that were written specifically for this one.
Yeah. Like
I got them right. Ikebana and sometime. Well, no, that was my. Ikebana, Ikebana. And then Are You Awake?
And like on the subway as well, the kind of Roger J. Manning Jr. and Brian Retzel songs, like they especially those two songs by there's On the Subway and Shibuya have this quality to them where they're like, is this score, or is this like, are these because they kind of have the same flavor as like Tomib by Square Pusher or Fantino by Sebastian Tellier, where it's like it all kind of all encompassing works together to just create this flavor, and like it all just melds together really well in a kind of like malaise, and I don't know, you just kind of it all. And there are certain needle drops and stuff that kind of isn't on the soundtrack. And I love the use of songs like in scenes. Like immediately there's that moment when Bob's in the pool and they're doing like aqua aerobics to Love Gun by Rick James. And I knew immediately, I was like, that's a Rick James song. And I just had to Google. I was like, Rick James Lost in Translation is like Love Gun. I was like, oh, man, I love me some Rick James music. Not so much the guy. The guy wasn't that great. The music is fantastic. And
then the Peaches song too. I mean, that at this time I was also a bouncer at like an indie bar, and so that song played almost every night. I had to listen to F the Pain Away like every single night. And so when that dropped in the strip club and their reactions to that, it was quite raunchy, but I like it. Like, I dig that vibe about it. And and I guess, that's not on the soundtrack, but you're right. You have Rick James, you have Peaches, like you have an odd assortment of kind of aggressive song. Like, that's a pretty aggressive song.
And what's really funny about the use of that song as well is that Sofia Coppola, like previous to this, was married to Spike Jonze, who I think it's clear to say is
Gio
is Giovanni Ribisi's character, like this kind of slightly nerdy, like photographer in the case of the movie, like who's kind of just sidelining her for what he's doing, and like kind of but like he was, I don't know, executive producer on Jackass the movie, which also uses that song in a sequence that Spike Jonze is in when it's the old people kind of like doing their bit and getting their bits and pieces out when he's dressed up as the old lady. So I like that those films They both had a say in that song, probably being in a film that they had involvement in.
Oh, I love that. And also, what, Cameron Diaz was supposedly Anna Faris? Is that kind of what they were trying to say? Because she was in Being John Malkovich, and she did a
Yes.
movie with Keanu. I'm like, you know what I like is Scarlett Johansson's character in this movie. She's quite pithy. Like, I love when she's just staring down. When she's just staring down Anna Faris. Like when Charlotte is just staring her down. Like she's like, I like smoking. Like she's kind of a hater. She's a little bit, and I like that Sofia Coppola's taking shots in this movie. Like there's a lot of DNA, I think, in Sophia that's in Charlotte. And she even said, like, of her time in Tokyo, and she didn't know where she wanted to be and stuff like that. But
I imagine her direction of like if Scarlett's like, how would I look at her in this moment? It's just kind of like Sophia like just did it for her, like just kind of tapped into a memory of hers and said, you just do this. And it's kind of this is probably like this kind of like almost telepathic thing between them, like, okay, yeah, I get you. I get where I get where you're coming from. Like,
yeah, I think that might be her best moment in the movie too. Like just the way that she watches and just does that. And how about this? We want to get into the draft. We're going to draft songs from the soundtrack, and then we will. Yeah, I mean, then we can talk about the scenes in the movie as well. How's that sound?
So drafting, like, how stringent are we being, Mark? We probably should have had this conversation.
No rules.
Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah, just whatever you want. One song, you take a song, I'll take a song, and then we'll talk about it.
A knife to the throat.
I'm the least competitive human being on the planet, so take whatever you want. It's all good. Yeah.
I like to think I am until I'm put in a situation, then I am an absolute monster. So sorry, Mark, and sorry, listeners, if you see
no
side of me.
You pull out the Philip Seymour Hoffman from Punch Drunk Love. Shut up. But hey, I'll give you first pick, so you can get your favorite, so you won't scream at me later on. So I'll let you pick first, and you can pick anything you want from this movie.
So my first pick is going to be "Too Young" by Phoenix,
yeah.
which in this great scene where they're dancing at a party with like this. I mean, it's like a tour guide that they've kind of just like enveloped into their group, and they're hanging out with his friends at this party, and it just feels like the kind of song that would be. Yeah, it's uber cool. This is kind of, especially in the time of Phoenix's career, was before they were like household names to a certain degree, before Amadeus Phoenix came out, like the kind of big album with Listomania on it and stuff. So yeah, I just think it's a great like needle drop, and again, fits into the scene. It's not like it's kind of playing over the scene. The people are interacting with it. They're dancing to it. It's not like, it's kind of playing over a stereo as opposed to being like, hey, here's a montage of people having fun and we're playing it over, which that the song could be used in that way, and I think wouldn't work. I like the kind of low key way that it's used here.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to do a montage, but you're at a house party. You're not just doing a montage with like a Rocky IV montage. This is a montage of music that they're dancing and sort of and singing to. And you know what? I think this scene really captures, those nights where you just meet some people and then you just go party all night. Like the vibe of that really does work. And I remember I listened to this. Was like, who is this? Who is this band? Like I bought the soundtrack. I'm like, oh, it's Phoenix, and this is Too Young. Like this is on my running playlist. Like this is a song that I've been listening to for 20 years now. Yeah, and it like just Too Young. Like I think it captures. It's kind of literal in the moment, but it's not overly literal, but yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so you know what? You took one that I had in my backups, but I wanted to really pick Girls by Death in Vegas first, because I know that that song never gets a chance to build. Like this song really does build into like heavy guitars, and it builds, but it gives me. There's a couple things. When I got married, my wife and I, when we left the wedding, we walked out to a song called Worrying by the Joy Formidable. And it's just 6 minutes of just like the last 4 minutes are just all guitar, drums, and it just builds and builds and builds. And I just love the way that this song builds, but also the way of just going in through the city, seeing those lights. Like I remember seeing those lights. Like I remember feeling a sense of almost being overwhelmed with the size of the city and when you go through Tokyo, and in the same way when I would go to Seoul, I would go to Seoul for a weekend, just be exhausted because it's just they're such big cities. But yeah, just the way that Bill Murray's in there, seeing the signs. Actually, I have a lot of Japanese whiskey actually, probably because of this movie. A lot of Japanese. I have Yama 12. I have good stuff. But yeah, so like Death in Vegas is my first.
Perfect.
Yeah.
A nice early one in the film as well, right? It's going.
Well, it's like, I think, like I said, this movie's 3 car scenes for me. Like, it really does feel like 3 car scenes because they're just great moments to me. I love them so much. So what's your second?
So if we're going for car scenes, it's gonna have to be is it Sometime?
Yeah, Sometime. The second one when they're coming home.
By my bloody. So it's just perfect, and it's a song that like I didn't necessarily gel with outside of the film, but then like it just really worked for me, and like I've got even more of an appreciation for it, and like it's like much to my sins, I've never really like delved into My Bloody Valentine, but like I can see for the next week I'm going to be on a big like shoegaze bend. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be kind of really digging into it, and it encapsulates that kind of haze at the end of a night out as well, which I think like especially in this, and it weirdly like again it like fades down like as he's carrying her through the hall and that, and then like it almost sounds like it's coming from one of like the hotel rooms. Do you know what I mean? It's like it just all kind of, I don't know, it feels like this kind of the whole film could be like a dream in Tokyo. Do you know what I mean? It's like the whole film in a weird way could be like a daydream that Bob is having as he's kind of waiting for setups whilst he's getting his photos taken. Do you know what I mean? And like, not that I don't know I'm not sure that the soundtrack in his head would be this cool, but it's kind of like a shared like daydream between two of them.
So he sees Scarlett in the elevator, and then it's just him thinking about this while he's everywhere else. And yeah, no, that and listen to is, I think this song is so. This is where they went really right with the soundtrack, because there's other driving songs, like I love MGMT, but if you play like Kids or if you play Time to Pretend, those are really aggressive, like pretty. We have PG-13. Those are fucked up songs, and so that really would have changed the vibe of this movie. But there's still a certain sensitivity to Sometime. And so, but it also captures that open road, and it's at night, and they're actually moving. They're not stuck in traffic, and he's sleeping, and he's carrying her. And like you said, it sounds like it's coming from another room. I got goosebumps just talking about it. I love that scene. So yeah, that's a wonderful driving moment. So good. So do you mind if I take the third driving scene? Are you going to lose your mind?
No, you can have it, baby.
All right. So Jesus and the Mary Chain, Just Like Honey. So like Scottish alternative rock band. Like what, it was from their debut, like 1985 Psycho Candy. Just having him sit back in the car and just be like, all right, this is when he goes back, and then they drive away and he's in the car. The camera's just on him, and there's a sort of sense of closure between he and Johansson, and or I guess Charlotte and Bob. But yeah, there's a sense of closure between them. But then just I love Just Like Honey. But like, the lyrics are really good too, because like, listen to the girl as she takes on half the world, moving up and so alive in her honey dripping beehive, and just walking back to you is the hardest thing I can do. Like he walks back to her, and it's not exactly totally what's going on the screen, but it also fits. But it's not so on the nose that it hurts your soul, but it does fit with it. And then just like honey, and it almost leaves you on this very, there's just like a certain catharsis to the song with how good it is and how relaxed it is, and it leaves you feeling the theater very satisfied, at least for me. I think that's the way it does it. So yeah, that's my second pick, because I just love that song. It's wonderful. And listen, like, I love learning more about. I don't know much about Scottish shoegazing music, so it's kind of been fun to sort of explore that genre and learn more about it. But like this song for 85, yeah, it's good. It's good. Great moment. So yeah, that's my second pick.
Well, yeah, let's have a dive back into the late 60s, early 70s. My next pick is Happy End with Kazewu Tumate, which in the film is kind of like you just hear it being played as somebody's singing it in a karaoke booth behind, but listening to it outside of the film is just kind of it's really great. Yeah, and it is the final song that plays over the credits. So I guess if you're waiting right until the end to see, I guess a lot of people would have done probably in 2003 when this film came out, to just what are these songs? Do you know what I mean? Kind of they're there with their notepad or just kind of trying to remember stuff to memory, waiting right until the end, because that's when we all know that you get the needle drop, what songs are in the film. And sometimes in the case of this in the case of this film as well, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make the official soundtrack. This is one of them, but there's a quality to this song, and I'm picking this on just I really love the song anyway. And I just think, I don't know, there's something about it that just being played in the back. Yeah, you can just hear it as they're talking, this kind of first night that they've, I don't know, I don't know if they, I guess they do fall in love with each other, but it's a very weird love, right? It's
not sustainable, but it's right time, right place, kindred spirits almost. Both depressed, both are uncertain. It's like lightning in a bottle, I would say.
Yeah, and there's something joyous about that song, but then I like all of it. It's got a slight melancholic aspect to it, and like I said, it's the only kind of Japanese language song on it as well. I have no idea what the song is about, but just on pure feels and vibes, it kind of, and the band's called Happy End, so maybe they're trying to say something with that. It is as sad as the end is. There's a happiness, and it's like life is happiness tinged with sadness.
And you know what's interesting about this movie too is it does leave you feeling on sort of a high. You don't leave feeling melancholy after this movie, I would say. I think it did a good job of sending people out. If they got together in the end, that'd be so inauthentic. And then if they had an ugly ending, it wouldn't feel right. But I think just the way they did it worked.
Yeah, I think this is what's great about Sofia Coppola's filmmaking. And there's a scene in The Virgin Suicides when Kirsten Dunst's character comes back after spending prom night and kind of sleeps on the football field, and she comes back and she gets the cab home, walks into the house, and a lesser film would have shown us the argument that ensued in that house, but she just cuts to the next scene. And that there's elements of that in this, right? When Bob sleeps with the lounge singer and they have that meal the next day, a lesser film would have played that as that would have been this big point of tension in the film, and this kind of that's basically in the rom-com syrupy saccharine version of this film, that's the whole third act, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the big, or kind of end of the second act, kind of, oh, you've done this betrayal, and then they kind of reconcile. But what this film is more interested in is the kind of the sloppiness of just life, and the fact that shit like that happens, and that they're both kind of adult and aware enough to be well, what we're doing isn't great anyway. Do you know what I mean? We're not, we're having we're having an affair as it is. So it's almost like that. I'm annoyed with you, but how annoyed can I be?
And I'm annoyed that I'm annoyed.
Yeah, I'm annoyed that I'm annoyed with you, that you've slept with this lounge singer, but at the same time, it's how annoyed can I be?
And I get over it so quick too, right? When he's like, "What kind of restaurant makes you cook your own food?" Just a stupid comment like that, and then it's done.
She has that great line when she says, "Oh, what a disappointing lunch," and it's kind of I wish all arguments could be resolved with such a great kind of pithy line like that. Do you know what I mean? It's almost saying we were idiots. Like, why am I annoyed about this? I can get over myself.
I guess she's closer to your age. It was such a bad. So, all right, since we're talking about ScarJo, I'm gonna go ahead and take Brass and Pocket by the Pretenders.
Oh,
because
yes, please.
No, but I think that they added that in there. Sofia Coppola added that in there because she wanted to show that Charlotte wasn't just this 20-year-old kind of morose, wealthy, intelligent, pithy person stuck in a room being terrible. She also had this other side to her with the wig and being flirty with Bob and sort of having fun and enjoying the experience. And so I think that was a good moment to sort of show a completely different side of her without really telling you, just through music. Of, I'm taking this song, I'm gonna have some fun. Like it's a really good way of just showing another side of her in a way like that. They just roll that night and have fun, and like the way she handles when they're chased out of the bar, when they're running through the arcades and get in the cab. I think that shows just, sure, she can sit in a hotel and be kind of pissed off and break her toe and do all that kind of stuff, but then she can also enjoy life. And so I really dug that moment. And yeah, I mean, that's what Coppola wanted, and she did a good job with that scene, so I dig it.
And it showcases what a brilliant voice she's got as well, right? Like, it's kind of almost sounds like she downplays it slightly in the fact that, like, Scarlett Johansson, has released albums, right? Like, so like she's got a fantastic singing voice, and like just the fact as well, like you realise she's not even looking at the screen. Like, I think that, like, she's not reading the lyrics. She's looking at Bob while she's, so it's like not even this thing of like, she's like, I know this song as well. Like, she doesn't have to read the lyrics at the karaoke.
Huh. Yeah, I never thought about that. But when you saw this scene for the first time, this just felt cool, right? This just felt, and I remember watching when she was at the arcade, watching the people play video games. That just seemed cool. Those people seemed cool. Like, I obviously, Japan and South Korea are completely different countries, completely different people, and I don't want people thinking I'm talking about them as like they're the same country, completely different countries. But I was like, when I was in South Korea, I'm like, my buddy Norbert and I, who's on the MFF podcast, we would go play video games, like big video game places like that, and we would get crowds and we would play shooting games, and like we would just have fun and sort of roll like that.
I remember the summer of 2016. I was just kind of like in the early stages of dating the mother of my son, and we had. I remember we would just like we were both living in Brighton, which is like a seaside town in England, and we would just have these days like wandering around like the kind of, like the arcades and like on the pier and stuff like that, and they just like it. This film encapsulates that fun of those early stages. Do you know what I mean? Like falling in and out of bars and kind of like just getting up to the hijinks, and it kind of just it instills that period of time, however long it may be, that you're kind of goofing around when you're in the early stages of a relationship, to just this one night. And it's beautiful in that way. And I've got such fond memories of that kind of summer of just kind of wandering about, like, mate, not even playing the arcade games, just kind of like people watching, having silly in jokes and just being stupid, and like that's this scene for me.
And I think it was really smart that they brought in Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I can't believe she's 17, which kind of blows my mind. But she said, while they were filming it, I watched an interview with Howard Stern where she just, you have Bill Murray, who's a force of nature. Then you have Sofia Coppola, who's a little older, world traveler. I mean, Apocalypse Now, she was in Cambodia for months of her life, just traveling the world with her dad, and had seen it. And she said that she felt they were cool to her, but she was still the 17-year-old on the crew, like in the crew over in another country. And she said she kind of had that alienation. So I think that fit her character really well, because that's what she was feeling. And then, I don't know, it just works. I don't know, it just worked.
Yeah, I think Scarlett Johansson as well. She's got this kind of, especially at that time, like wise beyond her years. And I think like Charlotte's got that. Like, I know that Scarlett Johansson was offered the role of Lux in The Virgin Suicides and turned it down, being like, yeah, this film's like maybe a bit too heavy for me at the time of my life. So what? Yeah, she would have been 14, 15 when that film was made.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
So I'm just trying to do the maths. So
Yeah, that's a heavy roll right there.
Yeah, so like but the fact she had that foresight to say no to that because like of how heavy it would have been, like kind of she's taking that into this as well, and that's kind of she's got that like I wouldn't be able to pinpoint the fact that she's 17. Like it kind of it slightly makes this film a little bit icky.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like I think that's like the elephant in the room. Like
and she had Bill Murray kiss her at the end. It's kind of like, you're like, he's in his 50s, she's 17, and then he just kisses her when it's like on the fly, like they don't tell her, and also too, like hearing a lot of like the L's and those kind of jokes, kind of the speaking like making fun of language. I was like, ugh. I'm like, guys, this is like their second language. This is another language they're speaking, and you're in their country. They're speaking English to you, and you're complaining. But I mean, I don't really know how to defend it. I know there's a lot of articles out there that really go at this movie, like really have a go at it. But I get it. I absolutely do. I guess there is no I guess just. Yeah, a lot of people are pretty. Well, how do you feel about it? I mean, we don't have to solve all the world's problems, but there's a lot of articles out there that really go at this movie. Do you think that's earned? I mean, I'm also a white dude watching it, and so like I'm not part of the Japanese culture watching, a Japanese person watching this.
Yeah, I think it's very hard in a way because I think Sofia Coppola is very honest with her films, and like the fact that you get a film like 2010 Somewhere where like it's a story about like a young girl and a famous dad in Hollywood, like something that she knows very well. And I don't think she wrote, I would like to think that this isn't from like a kind of a negative place. It's just an honest place of like experiences that like she's either witnessed or just, you know what I mean? Like, and it is that thing of people in other cultures probably like tend to be, especially more so in the past, before we kind of were all kind of for the right hyper aware of kind of cultural insensitivity and kind of just insensitivities in general. I don't know. I think it kind of pinpoints and kind of makes the cultural divide. It's a bit of a kind of mismanaged way of pointing out the kind of cultural divide and stuff like that. There's other ways to do it. I think there are ways that it's done really well in this film where like I don't know where like just the kind of line where he's saying give us a Roger Moore, and he's like, oh, I always think of Sean Connery. Did you not get the Sean Connery movies over here? Like that's a kind of funny line and kind of like. But yeah, kind of mocking accents and stuff like that is kind of is a bit kind of a bit ignorant in a way, but like at the same time, and I know that Sofia Coppola has come under flack a lot of the time for the fact she makes the movies she makes, and it's like I don't want to see Sofia Coppola making films about things she doesn't know about. I would very much like it. It's the same way that like people level like stuff at Wes Anderson. It's like, do you really want Wes Anderson making a film about like the American Civil War? No.
I want him to be.
I want him to make films about the kind of like New York socialites and kind of very twee, like middle to upper class people. And I want Sofia Coppola to make films that are essentially about fame in some way a lot of the time, and what it is to be famous and what it is to kind of exist in that world.
And she explores that. She said she spent a lot of time in Japan and Somewhere. I mean, you know where that comes from. And it's also too, I mean, in this movie, Bob's just a deeply unhappy man. Like he's just like he's getting $2 million to do a few days of work, and he's just a deeply unhappy human being. And I think that and also too, I mean, the fact of the matter is Charlotte's 20. She's a Yale graduate. Probably hasn't traveled too much. She doesn't really know what's going on. So they're both very sarcastic people too. So I'm not saying this is right, but they're also deeply unhappy people. So they're probably going to make fun of other folks. Like they definitely have that vibe. Like remember when she's looking at Kelly, She's, I don't know. And also too, like when John's going to go to work, she's like, hey, let's drink champagne now. He's like, well, I got to go work 14 hours. So I think there is a certain, she's 20 and he's a jaded 50-something-year-old man who isn't happy. So, I mean, they're not going to act like the nicest human beings on the planet when they're there.
Yeah, and I don't think they're supposed to be good people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, I don't know, I think now we're in a time of, like, when we see bad people like Succession and stuff like that, they're kind of like really signposted that like these are pieces of shit. Whereas in this, it's like it's navel gazing pieces of shit as opposed to kind of out and out quips and barbs to just kind of a complete disregard. It's that more low key, insidious. I hate myself. I'm going to take it out on other people, but I'm still going to be funny and charming because there is some decency in me. I'm just in a really shit place at the moment.
During all the reading of this, and listen, I get where people watching it can feel that way, and there was controversy back when the awards were handed out. I remember the Screen Actors Guild went to Johnny Depp, and I read an article where they said that the whole controversy surrounding this movie probably affected Bill Murray from winning Best Actor. But I also think these are just deeply unhappy people, and they're in but you know what's crazy is a lot of people say that the characters in this movie, the Japanese people, are made fun of, but this movie made me want to go there. Like this, not in an ironic way. This made me want to be there because I just felt like it was a cool city. I felt like everyone in it was cool. Like I wanted to go experience this, not in an ironic way, not in a like, oh, it'll be so cool. Like I'm gonna go. I wanted to learn about the culture. Like I taught myself Japanese. I got a job there because I wanted to go see the salamanders. Like I wanted to hike the mountains. I wanted to go see it. So this movie, I mean, I guess I just never looked at it as that way because I was like, these are deeply unhappy people. And this, I have nothing in common with these two characters, but I have something in common with the music, the theme, the loneliness, the things that are like, you can have nothing in common with the characters, but you can understand the theme, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Tokyo Drift also made me want to move to Japan too. It was a long conversation, but I just felt like we needed to at least talk about it a little bit. But
yeah, of course. Like we definitely didn't solve anything. If anything, we probably made things worse.
Yeah.
So that's always great.
but with movies like this, though, I get it. I get what people are saying, but I also think this movie sort of connected with me just simply because of I didn't have this. There weren't this kind of movies in the States. Like I'm telling you, man, like in the States at this time, you weren't getting sensitive. Like, you weren't getting movies like this.
I guess the film that this film owes the biggest debt to is the work of Wong Kar-wai.
Oh,
like,
yeah, sensitive, in the mood for love. And then she says it. But I had never seen In the Mood for Love. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, oh. But when you're 21, 22, and you're like a kind of an emo dude, and then you go see this movie, you're like, oh man, this is great. And so, at least I guess that's why, like Garden State. I watch Garden State now, and I'm like, geez Louise, what happened? But back then when I saw it in college, I'm like, oh man, this dude's like sensitive.
Yeah, there's certain movies like that, right? Like, and I think what kind of makes Lost in Translation different to a lot of movies, like that's just something like Garden State is like, they're movies that like create these unattainable women that don't exist that are written by men.
Yeah.
Whereas like at least with Lost in Translation, it's from a female perspective from Sofia Coppola and creates this kind of this probably more true to life, messy. Yeah, there's elements of kind of manic pixie dream girl aspect to the character of Charlotte, but I think a lot more grounded than, do you know what I mean? Like they're not having conversations about like, don't you love the films of like Don's, do you know what I mean? Don't you love the films of, don't you love Dirty Harry? Don't you love kind of all these kind of cool films? Don't you love all this cool music? And it's like, hey, you shouldn't be looking for the girl who has all this. If you want to date someone who likes all of that, just date one of your male friends. Like, come on, guys. Like,
because that's what movies did, right? There's some about Mary and all that. Like, let's make them super sporty and this, that, and the other. And Charlotte, like, she's like, I like smoking. Like, she is kind of pithy. She wants to drink in the morning. And you're right. I think this isn't written, directed, and starring Zach Braff, and who wrote Natalie Portman because he wanted to write a character like that because he was in a weird spot to like a woman to save him. Like Charlotte doesn't save Bob. Bob doesn't really save Charlotte. They just have a weekend together, and I don't think either one of like they still got a lot of problems ahead of them. They still got to figure everything out, but for one weekend they were able to sort of find somebody, and I dig that about it. It's
Bob's got to go home to his wife and his children, and she's got to like face like her boyfriend her husband when he comes back from shooting like photos of this band and stuff like that. And it's like I just love the fact that we're just slotted into it and not really I don't know. Yeah, there's no real conflict in this film, which is kind of like I don't. But apart from I guess there is. It's just a lot more low stakes than we're used to in a lot of films.
Yeah, there's no chases to the airport. The significant others don't find out. I mean, we never learn what kind of carpet's going to be bought. That's probably the biggest conflict for me.
Don't they go for the maroon?
Wait, what is this color?
Throw the others out. The maroon was always the choice.
He has so much work to do though with her because she doesn't want to hear anything he says. You can tell he's not around. You missed his birthday. Like this guy is so detached in his life, and so I don't think I ever feel bad for him. Like he's a lech, but
yeah,
that's Bill Murray, and like most of these people are probably likable. He's just a miserable. And you know what's interesting is when they're the moments alone that we spend with them, they feel quite organic. Like when I don't know if you're gonna pick it, but when Tomid is picked, when she's just looking at the city and it's playing in the background, that works. And then when you talked about him earlier, when Sebastian Tellier is on there, when Fantino is on, like that, she stubs her toe. So I think it just I like those alone moments. They actually feel quite organic. And also too, if you've ever been in a hotel room in another country, you're exhausted. You don't want to go out. They are very oppressive because you have a whole world around you that you've never been to and you're stuck in this room not going anywhere. And it does feel like a little bit of a jail. Like I went to Iceland and we were waiting to get results for COVID tests and you're just stuck in this hotel room. And I wasn't going to leave. I'm going to follow the rules, but you're stuck in there for 4 or 5 hours. You feel like you're going insane. So I like the way that they portrayed the hotel rooms, like the life of that.
Well, the one thing I thought that was like great for them with the hotel room is they had a lovely view. The times I've kind of like spent in hotels and had to wait about, it's normally like a hotel on the outskirts of town where you're like literally looking over an industrial park or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh boy, here we are. Like we're on the outskirts of the city. I can't really see like, oh yeah. The city's there in the distance. Like we're nowhere near it. Yeah, I used to travel a lot for I used to do event work for Monster Energy drinks, and yeah, we would do. I'd cut hair like at these events, and we'd just have to stay in hotels, and kind of there would be like I remember we were in Leipzig tattoo convention, and they kind of hadn't set up the booth that we were going to be working in, and just kind of had to stay in this hotel with a guy I'd like met literally at the airport on the way there that I was going to be cutting hair with, and then just staring over this kind of industrial park. We're like, I guess this is Leipzig. Like we've just come from Berlin, which seemed like it was really really popping, and now I'm like an industrial park where I could be like literally anywhere in the world, and I feel like I'm going insane.
Right, you get that vibe, and also Coppola really likes expensive hotels. The Chateau in what somewhere, and then this one, the Tokyo Hyatt. Like she likes her expensive hotels in here, but it creates some great views. That's for sure. So let's do one more song each. What's your last song you want to pick?
My last song. I'm just gonna be an absolute troll. My last song is gonna be "Love Gun" by Rick James. Just I think as a counterpoint, I think to the kind of it's the perfect needle drop to just like, and it kind of encapsulates that thing that we've kind of been talking about, like the snarkiness of Bob and Charlotte, and like there's these people who, for all intents and purposes, are like working out and having fun, but Bob kind of just looks at them in just like disgust. Do you know what I mean? And it's like this thing of like, I don't know, and I think it's just the perfect choice for that moment. To just be like, you got Rick James blaring in the background, and Bob just being like, "Oh, look at these people having
exercising."
Yeah.
Oh, and his swimming form is pretty good though. I like that he's not going out for air every single stroke.
One of the things I found watching this is I just kind of forgot how like funny it is in certain places. That moment when he's on the cross trainer,
Oh, help!
it's hilarious, right? Yeah.
That scene came from nowhere, but I absolutely. And then he has a slight limp the next day, and it's not too crazy, but it's a slight.
And how acrobatic he is as well when the way he like jumps off of it, and it's like, oh, Bill, like it reminded you in that moment, like, oh yeah, Bill Murray's a great kind of physical comic actor.
And his golfing and just like this is a wildly rich man enjoying the best perks in Japan, and he's just a shit, and it's. But you know what though? I mean, rich people, successful people can be shits every now and again. So you can't just be like, you can't behave like that. Like he's just going through some things. Well, my last one, I love some Anna Faris, so I'm gonna do Nobody Does It Better by Carly Simon because she becomes she's a rock star in Just Friends later on, and I love the run she had. She was in House Bunny, Just Friends.
Right.
Like for a while, she was a real Scary Movie 2, 3. Like she was a presence, and those movies made bank. I think people forget sometimes how big she was on Mom for 10 seasons, made a ton of money. So
Anna Faris has like just got she's been done dirty somewhere along the way.
yeah,
there. I mean, like she needs to be frontlining like kind of studio comedies because she's so lovely. She's got an amazing podcast. She's like really sweet. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think we can all pinpoint the point where people like took a dislike to Chris Pratt was the moment he divorced her, right?
Yeah.
Was that thing like that was the kind of turning point on people's like favors towards him. It's like, what? You've given up a life with Anna Faris for Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter? Like, come on, you big Republican shit.
And while she was sort of in the House Bunny when her movies were making 100 mil, he was in Parks and Rec. He wasn't, and then he got super big, and then they break up, and you're like, geez Louise, what's going on here? But it just sucks. I feel like there are actors like J-Lo, who's huge, right? But I think there are actors, Cameron Diaz, who have really carried big movies and were very successful, and people don't remember that. So I always want to give some props to Anna Faris for popping into a Sofia Coppola movie and just knocking it out the park.
100%.
And just that song what I like about her is there's no self-consciousness to her performance. Like I feel like when Anna Faris gets on the screen, she's up for anything and anything whenever. And
that line where she just it feels ad-lib, where she goes, "Oh, I stink of BO."
When she's talking, like me and Keanu, like we believe in reincarnation. Like it's just, oh man, and we both have dogs. Like I dig it. But yeah, man, I'm glad we did this. We definitely did some tangents on this movie, but I think I'm glad we did this. This movie's been on my mind for 20 years now, and I haven't had the podcast that long, but I finally got to have like a long discussion about Lost in Translation and the soundtrack, which I love. So this was great.
Yeah, this is one that won't be covered on the podcast for a long time, I don't think, just because I made a rod for my own back that when I have guests on to talk about a Coppola family film, the final question ever, like on the final question on the podcast is, what does Bill Murray say to Scarlett Johansson at the end of Lost in Translation? So I've kind of made the kind of bed for myself that I can't cover this film until I'm near the end of the entire Coppola film. Do you know what I mean? Like to kind of maybe hash out once and for all and give my answer to what that could be. So you're not getting it here, Mark.
I think he walks up to her and he goes, "Hey, this was really great and I appreciate it. And there's a movie called Deep Blue Sea out there that was directed by Rennie Harlan and released in 1999. I think if you watch it, you'll think of me. All right. So I'm going to walk away and I'll call you later. All right. Peace. Deep Blue Sea. Bye." That was it.
Amazing.
And then she watches Deep Blue Sea and her life changes.
Yeah. Or he says, just don't listen to Seth Green.
Wait, what happens there?
Oh, Seth Green told a story that Bill Murray put him in a bin at SNL.
He put him in a bin?
He put him in a bin. Yeah, he put him in a trash can.
There's some stories out there by Bill Murray, but yeah, it's
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Let's not do that. No, let's leave it.
Let the listeners be aware. We are aware of Bill Murray and the kind of stories about him.
Yeah, this is just more, I don't know. I just want to talk about the way that this movie uses music to create the feeling. I mean, this is a movie that it was nominated for Best Picture. It won Oscars. And I really I don't think if the music wasn't as good, this movie wouldn't hit as hard. This movie wouldn't be thought of. So I think it's a really great example of music hitting.
Yeah, I guess it's a film that couldn't have been nominated for really any Oscars in the kind of music category. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have that big showstoppy song that gets nominated for Best Original Song, and there's not enough original music to equate to an original score.
Mm-hmm.
Music is a really vital point to this, and it's really fascinating to look at who Sofia Coppola thanks in her acceptance speech. She lists a few directors, and I think two of the big ones. She thanks Wong Kar-wai. Another one is Bob Fosse, who I think is somebody who really taps into...
Literally?
Huh?
Like the dance guy, so you said taps, so I just said literally.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
No, taps into who people are in films, especially earlier this year I watched All That Jazz for the first time and was kind of blown away. But I think with that, Bob Fosse is amazing at his use of music in films as well.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that in this film, and I think it's interesting that she basically kind of goes up and lists, these are the directors I was thinking about whilst making this movie.
It actually comes together now that you say it, and I'm still laughing about my stupid joke about tapping, so I apologize.
No. I'm really tempted to go watch All That Jazz now.
Oh, wonderful.
Stop that tapping.
Hey, so we already got some plugs, but I want to tell people again where to find you, and you got any cool episodes coming up? Do you have any episodes you want people to listen to?
You can listen to all of Caged In and Caged In Coppola Connections wherever you get podcasts. Keep an eye out and an ear out for Getting Defoe You, a season by season look at the films of Willem Dafoe, which will be a lot of fun. That will be on the horizon very soon. We are in the midst of recording our first season, and that'll be fun. Episodes to listen to on my podcast, obviously go back, listen to The Old Way with Mark. But yeah, there's amazing interviews on there. Daniel Noah is one that springs to mind. One of the kind of producers behind Mandy and Colour Out Space. And I recently interviewed Nicholas Hoult, the star of Renfield. I got to talk to him about working with Nicolas Cage and got to ask him the ultimate question: what is his favourite Nicolas Cage film? There's a whole host of fun stuff. What this family has proved to me is I can cover a wide breadth of cinema and get to dive into all aspects of it. So I'm not just looking at who's working in front of or directing movies. I'm looking at who in the family was a production designer or kind of like a runner on a film. If they've got an IMDb credit for something, I'm looking at it and I'm having a poke around. And yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of like tangential stuff. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, there's a whole episode on a tweet. On a TikTok video, and there's a whole episode on a guy who did a cross country trip from Chicago to New Orleans to try and meet Nicolas Cage. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. So come aboard, find me on all the socials at Caged In Pod or at Defoe You Pod.
Well, thank you so much. This is finally got to talk Lost in Translation. This is great. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, thanks for joining me. So, for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Petros Patsilivas, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.